In 1991, the producers of The Secret of the Ooze wanted to adapt Bebop and Rocksteady to illustrate the threat of the mutagen falling into the wrong hands. However, due to the very complicated nature of who owned the characters, Kevin and Peter proposed new characters instead, Tokka and Rahzar. Years later, since the characters were made into action figures, they were also considered to be adapted into the cartoon, which was ironic, as the cartoon didn't need another version of Bebop and Rocksteady. So how did David Wise manage to adapt the two characters without making Bebop and Rocksteady redundant? Join me today as I explore the very brief history of the Fred Wolf version of Tokka and Rahzar. The characters appeared only once in what would be their only encounter with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. By 1993, the duo had been at large, along with a few other mutated animals, for a couple of years. Their mutation was the result of some unspecified adventure when the Shredder unleashed mutagen in a zoo. Given that Tokka has a Foot Clan symbol on his belt, it would be safe to assume that they were created to be part of the clan before they could escape the Shredder's control. The Turtles would face the rest of the mutated animals from time to time, that is, until they all mysteriously disappeared, with Tokka and Rahzar being the last two at large. Unlike their movie counterparts, this version of the duo weren't babies. In fact, Rahzar was quite eloquent, often showing some sort of academic background. I'm not sure how this happened, but we could assume that Rahzar spent most of his time post-mutation reading books. Tokka, on the other hand, wasn't really as bright as Rahzar. But the two only had each other in this world, and as a result, Rahzar was very protective of his buddy. The first time they met the Turtles was during their break-in at the Crystal Palace Mall. The duo usually stole food from stores, but this time they found a food court, putting people in danger. Seeing how the Turtles were about to capture Tokka, Rahzar destroyed a pillar of the mall, forcing everyone outside and allowing their escape. The destruction of the mall only added fuel to the fire that was A.J. Howard's anti-mutant campaign. This eccentric millionaire hired Dirk Savage, a professional mutant hunter, to rid the city of mutants. Of course, A.J. Howard had even more ulterior motives. He was a mutant himself and wanted to capture mutants to mind control them into his army. Dirk had successfully captured the rest of the escaped mutant animals from the zoo, plus Genghis, Napoleon Bonafrog, Leonardo, and Michelangelo. With only Tokka and Rahzar left to be captured from that original set, Dirk Savage set up a food trap for them. The duo fell for it, and while Rahzar was able to escape from Dirk, Tokka was captured. Devastated after losing his only friend in the world, Rahzar swore he would get revenge against Savage and free his buddy. And he would have succeeded at killing Savage had it not been for Donnie and Raph, who needed Dirk on their side to free the rest of the mutants and stop A.J. Howard's plan of controlling the population of New York. Owing his life to them, Dirk Savage helped them free the mutants and stop A.J. Howard. While it was never shown, we can assume that Tokka reunited with Rahzar and the two remained free for a while. While that was their only appearance in the show, the Saturday Morning Adventures comic is filling the gap between the 7th and 8th seasons. As a result, Tokka and Rahzar have made a few appearances there. While a few of them were non-speaking cameos, and 2 of those were not even real, the duo recently faced the Turtles. They faced Leonardo, who was patrolling the city alone, not expecting to be dealing with 2 huge mutants. He would have lost the fight had it not been for Lotus Blossom, who helped him take them down. Unfortunately, 2 policemen, whom I'm going to call Kevin and Peter, failed to apprehend them, and they escaped in their police car. The Turtles and Lotus were already involved in another mission when they were almost run over by them. The Turtles, seeing how dangerous the situation was, had no choice but to chase them in the turtle van. After a brief car fight, the duo crashed the police car and engaged in battle with the Turtles. This time, the Turtles used a reinforced net that could help keep them contained long enough for the police to take them into custody. And that was their latest appearance in the comic, but I'm sure they'll come back in future episodes. As I mentioned earlier, Bebop and Rocksteady were off limits for the movie sequel. Therefore, Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird suggested using characters owned by Mirage. They were almost a duo of snapping turtles, with Rahzar having a very distinctive mohawk. Fortunately, he was later turned into a Grey Wolf mutant. Tokka, on the other hand, was based on Terrorpin, a toy designed by Stephen Bissette. Coinciding with the movie, the two were adapted into the toy line, and that is the version of the characters that was adapted into the cartoon. Their move onto the small screen was written by David Wise, who ironically had given Bebop and Rocksteady their very recognizable personalities. With this in mind, it made sense for David to differentiate the new duo. As a result, this version of Tokka and Rahzar feels nothing like the originals. Tokka was voiced by Rob Paulson, and Rahzar was voiced by Townsend Coleman, who also voiced Raphael and Michelangelo respectively. Interestingly, this version of Tokka and Rahzar has recently been in the spotlight, thanks to many projects. Apart from the Saturday morning series, the duo was included in the Shredder's Revenge video game, in the Crystal Palace Mall stage, albeit as augmented reality antagonists. They were also made into action figures by NECA and the Loyal Subjects. Of course, this wouldn't be the last version of Tokka and Rahzar. Stay subscribed so you don't miss future videos about these characters. And that's it for the Fred Wolf version. Is this your favorite version? Or do you prefer the more innocent yet brutish originals? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching. See you in the sewers.